Hi there, my name's Andrew Inman. I am 29 years old and I am choosing the subject of addictions. I'm choosing the focus of a community plan that's based around helping people who have addictions of all sorts. I don't want to focus on one type of addiction, mainly on a broad spectrum of addictions that all have a common focus. My degree focus is addiction counseling. I don't specify what type of addiction because people of all sorts have different types of addictions that they focus on, and I want to be able to help a broad spectrum of people, not one specific type. So, my goal is to gain experience in addiction counseling, and mainly to do that through college. I want to find avenues of outreach for those suffering from addiction, and I want to provide solutions to common addiction struggles that people face. And the way I want to do this, obviously, is to gain experience by going to college and by creating avenues. What I mean by that is finding ways to reach out to people in the communities, in my surrounding communities, who face different addiction struggles and help them find hope through their addictions. So, what is an addiction? Well, according to Olson, addiction is a need markedly for markedly increased amounts of the substance to achieve intoxication or desired effect. The whole focus of the word substance is not necessarily substance abuse like we see, but substance could be anything. Basically, the thing that you're addicted to. If you look at sex addictions are a good example, or porn addictions. The porn or the sex would be the substance that people are addicted to. Video games would be the substance that people are addicted to in video game addictions. So what is an addiction? Well, it's an intoxication that people seek after. They can't get enough of it. They have cravings for a greater high, and as a result, it becomes a compulsive habit that they struggle to get rid of. How I hope to accomplish this is to study all common addictions that people are facing. I want to go to college. I want to study the common traits between these addictions. I don't just want to focus on one, as I mentioned before. I want to focus on addictions as a whole, what all these addictions have in common. I want to familiarize myself with their common traits so that I can help more than one person. I mean, it's great if I can help people who have a drug addiction, but what about the people with an alcohol addiction? What about the people who have substance smoking addictions? The goal is to have a broad spectrum of people to reach out to and to focus on. And I want to study what has worked for overcomers. I want to find a solution that's worked. I want to find solutions, plural, that's worked for others in the past, because looking at the past will help me find more solutions in the future. So why addiction? Why is this such an important subject? Well, according to J.R. Yule, since 2017, people of ages 12 or older have had addictions in the millions. And I'm talking double digit, plural millions. 14.5 million people addicted to alcohol, 7.5 million addicted to drugs, 48.7 million people are cigarette smokers. And what we see in this is that not only that addiction comes in many forms, but addiction is a battle for millions of people. It's a common battle that many people face. Most addiction is physically and mentally toxic, and it's something that takes an effect on the human body and takes an effect on the human character. And so it's something that we can't get enough counselors for. And it's important that we get counselors who can get who can handle a broad spectrum of all these addiction types. So the behavioral blend, the background that led to who I am today and why I'm passionate to want to be an addiction counselor. My father struggled with many addictions. My dad mainly had a sex addiction. He did have drinking, alcohol, smoking. In the addictions, although they were secret, they all had common traits that affected my siblings. My dad was short-tempered, my dad was impulsive, and you see my father's traits in me and in my siblings. Not in that we have the same addiction type, but we have the same impulsiveness towards anger and things like that, which have led to addictive types of behaviors that we've all had to deal with. My communication barriers, as a result of this, have been very difficult. I've had to seek help in this area, tending to advise rather than hearing people. My failure to learn to hear before I advise people, that has been a major problem. And the tendency to speak more than I listen to others. The goal here and the plan of action is that I want to learn to hear before I advise people. And I want to learn to listen more than I speak in order to help others who face addictive behaviors. My goals and strategies. Goal is to help people overcome their addictions. My strategies, I want to become a better listener. Becoming a better listener is always a good thing to have in mind. I want to become less of a talker, and I want to increase my level of empathy. So the first one, becoming a better listener. That's going to come with challenging myself to acknowledge my difficulty in listening. The best way to handle a poor listening is to challenge yourself to acknowledge that difficulty, according to Schultz. I want to become attentive to what's said and not what I prefer to hear. It's very easy sometimes to listen to people and to prefer to hear what their problem actually is rather than hearing what their problem is, because we become so good at giving advice, we become poor listeners of what advice is actually needed to be given, if any advice at all. Sometimes in counseling, it's best to let people reach their own conclusions. And I want to listen for the sake of serving others. I don't want to be a person who listens for the sake of serving my self-pride in self-knowledge, but I want to be one who genuinely listens for the sake of serving somebody else's need in the realm of counseling. To become less of a talker. Well, I want to become genuinely concerned for people. I don't just want to have a facade where I'm pretending that I'm concerned for people. I want to be more empathetic, and I want to learn to have a warm personality. These kind of go hand in hand, being empathetic and learning to be warm for people. These are things that are important in a counselor's traits. And finally, I want to listen to my observers, learn when reflection's necessary, and learn to recognize when I only partially understand others. These are big ones. Listening to my observers. People are your best input for how your character is. Learning when reflection is necessary. Learning not just to speak for the sake of speaking. And learning to recognize when I only partially understand people is a big one. Conclusion, addiction counseling is a major need. We need counselors, no doubt about that. Becoming a counselor is a personal exercise. It's an exercise of my own personality. It's about exercising my character, which means that I need to become more attentive. And attentiveness means knowing when to speak and when to listen.